This lesson we're going to look at a more efficient way of solving quadratic equations. In the last lesson we looked at having the graph there, and if we didn't have the graph we'd have to sketch the graph, which is a bit cumbersome and would take a wee while to do. But luckily there's a quicker way to solve them, and that's by using factorising. Now the concept is this: if you have two things multiplied together that equal 0, either one of them can be 0 to make that true. Say for example A was 10, oops, just make that a wee bit smaller. Say for example A was 10, as long as B was 0, this would be true. And you can make it A anything you like. You can make it 10,000. As long as B came out to be 0, this would work out. And the same in another sense, if A was equal to 0, as long as you kept A as 0, B could be anything, 222, but 222 times 0 is 0. So it works out, as long as A or B are 0, so A or B must be 0, A and B can both be 0. So let's look at how this works. Solve the quadratic equation here, x squared plus 6x plus 5. Now what I have to do is split it into two different things, A and B, so that when you have times together they come to 0. So that's your double brackets for factorising. Now double brackets, you're going to have an x and an x and a 5 and a 1 to make the 5, and that will give you the 6 in the middle as well. If you're not too good at factorising, maybe go back and look at the factorising lessons earlier on in the first unit. Now, this first bit would be your A, and this second bit would be your B. So to solve this, we need to find an x value to make the first bracket equal to 0. And that doesn't matter what this comes to, the whole thing will go to 0. So in this case, to make x plus 1 equal to 0, you can take away the 1 and say, well, x is negative 1. But you could also go for the b side of things. So you could make that bracket equal to 0. And how would you do that? Well, if you take the 5 over to our side, it would become negative. X could be negative 5. So let's see how that works. If you put negative 1 up here, you'll get negative 1 plus 1. So this value would come to 0. So we'd have a 0 here. And then you would have negative 1 plus 5. So that would come to 4. But 0 times 4 is 0, so that works. Now let's try the other way. Let's make x negative 5. So here you're going to have negative 5 plus 1, which is minus 4. But crucially over here, you're going to have negative 5 plus 5, which is 0. So negative 4 times 0 is 0. So two solutions of this are negative 1 and negative 5. Either of those would work. Now, there's three types of factorising examples that you meet, and that just follows the same idea as what you did in the first unit. You can find common factor questions, difference of two square questions, and trinomial questions like this. Now I'm going to go through the three examples and show you how to do each one. So let's look at a common factor example. So what you need to do is take out a common factor here of x. So x bracket x minus 7 equals 0. And the way you have to think about this is this x outside the bracket is your a, and it's been times by this bit in the red, which is your b. Now to make the bit outside 0, we just say that x is 0. And to make the b part 0, i.e. x take away 7 equal to 0, x must be 7, or you can add the 7 over to our side. So either 7 or 0 will work here. If you put 0 in, you're going to have 0 multiplied by 0 take away 7. So 0 times negative 7 is just 0. If you put the 7 into both bits, you're going to have 7 times 7 take away 7, and that bit will go to 0. And you'll get 7 times 0, which just makes 0. Okay, let's look at difference of two squares. So this splits up into x take away 6, x plus 6, or the other way around. So this first bit is your A, and this second bit is your B. So you can either go for making A0 for one solution, and then to get the other solution, make B equal to 0. That's what I'm going to do here. So either x take away 6 can equal 0, or x plus 6 can equal 0. What does x need to be here? Well, 6. And what does x need to be here? Negative 6. And finally, the last one, a trinomial. So double brackets, 4's at the end to make times to make the 4, and they will add to make the 5. So either the first bracket can equal 0, or the x plus 1 can equal 0. Okay, let's solve the first one. Well, you take away the 4 to the other side to get what x is, so that's negative 4, and take away the 1 to get negative 1. Now you can check, you can sub them back in up here to see if they work, and it should work out for you. So the trinomial version and the difference of two square versions are very similar. Just watch for the common factor. People tend to mess this up. When they take the x out, they forget the x needs to just be equal to 0. If you take x outside the bracket, that multiplier you just set to be 0, because there's no plus or take away value next to it in a bracket. Like x take away 2 or x plus 5, so just x as 0 is one of the solutions. Now, quadratic equations don't need to always have two solutions. They can have no solutions. Again, you'll look at that later on. They don't touch the x-axis at all. They can have two solutions, like all of these ones. Sometimes they've just got one solution. So you put it into double brackets and you get two of the same answer, like x plus 4 and x plus 4. It would only be one solution, which would be negative 4.